starting with Prabhu, who introduced me, and they said it was from birth that I've been practicing Krishna consciousness, but it's not the amount of years. As you go by, you realize it's not the amount of years, it's the depth of your devotion that makes the difference. So, and maintenance is very important, so that takes the longest and the hardest. So I'm thankful to a lot of people who made me even close to qualified. So first I want to thank the Ramchandra Prabhu, Ram Tulsi Prabhu, and the ISKCON of Bergen management to give me a chance to share something of value, I hope. And especially I want to thank my parents and my family who've supported me through all these years in Krishna consciousness. And most of all, my obeisances to my Guru Maharaj, who made me qualified to even sit on the Vyasa-san. And to all those who've helped me through the years of Krishna consciousness, Sunday school, as he mentioned, many gurus that we have, so I want to thank all of them for giving me something. And I request there's some seniors here, and I request your blessings so I can say something of value to all of you, and that I can kind of be like a parrot and just everything I've heard through the years. I mean, over 30 years I've been hearing. I'm usually sitting in your seat, and I hope all of you one day come and sit in my seat and be able to share something that you've heard over the years. So before we begin, I think we're going to sing Jaya Radha Madhav. Since I'm not the best of singers, my Prabhu will sing Jaya Radha Madhav. Thank you. So we can begin with the prayers and invoke some auspicious. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshudam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanamrikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Balavam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mantavam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Veshakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srimasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Amshakalpa Tarvishya Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. So today the topic is about association. So before we get into the topic itself, I wanted to talk about this. There was a talk in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Leela, and it was a talk between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy. And Lord Chaitanya asked him, of all kinds of distress, which is the most painful? And Ramananda Roy responded saying, apart from separation from the devotees of Krishna, I know no unbearable happiness. So in this, this week was a little difficult actually for many of us as we heard about the departing souls that I grew up with, actually personally grew up knowing. Her Grace Veena Mataji and Aradhya both departed this week recently, and also I've heard of Guruji is very critical and very sick, and he's been here and given many classes and given us such nice association. Even some of our congregation members are disciples of Prabhuji. Sureshwar Krishna Prabhu, who's here, Sureshwari Radhika Mataji, Jaya Radhika Mataji, Gopal Govind Prabhu. So I think we should all just one time chant the Mahamantra for Kritu Prabhuji's well-being, and even for the departed souls, Veena Mataji and Shivaradhya Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. So we're on a series, and we're reading the Nectar of Instruction, the book, and it's written by Rupa Goswami. And we heard from, when we first started this, we heard from Arundhati Mataji, was an online class. We heard from her about Rupa Goswami. I just wanted to touch upon, because when we read a book, it's important to know who the author is. Who wrote this book? Where is this book from? So Rupa Goswami is actually on our altar, most of our ISKCON altars. So if you look on the altar, you see the Guru Parampara. And in the Guru Parampara, there's a frame with 6 Goswamis. And one of those Goswamis is Srila Rupa Goswami. Where in ISKCON, we're actually known as Srila Rupanugas. So he is actually an intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya himself. And he was instructed by Lord Chaitanya himself to write literature and scriptures. So and when we did our prayers, one of the prayers was Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam. This was about Rupa Goswami, that he's saying that Rupa Goswami understands the mind of Lord Chaitanya. So where is this knowledge actually coming from? It's coming from directly Lord Chaitanya himself through Rupa Goswami, through Srila Prabhupada's book Nectar of Instructions to us. So this is how it's coming to us, and this is the author of the book. So we've been doing a series, as I mentioned. So we've done verses 1, 2, and 3. So we're on the 4th verse today. So, sorry. The first verse we did was, Arundhati Mataji gave this class, and it was about sense control. Vacho Vegam, Manasakrodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udar. So it's how to control our senses. And the second and third verse, the second verse was given by, the second class was given by Rati Vilas Mataji on the 6 things that destroy our bhakti. It was a beautiful class. She had like nice image of a pot with holes in it. These are things that destroy our bhakti. And then Damodar Sharan Prabhu gave a class on the 3rd verse, which was about, does anyone remember what it was about? What's the 3rd verse about? What did we hear about? He gave last week. Does anyone remember? Yes. Yeah. So it's the 6 things that are favorable to our devotional practice. And I don't know if you all noticed, but one thing that was, really striking is that in the 2nd verse, Srila Rupa Goswami and Prabhupada also emphasizes that association. So in verse it says Jana Sangha. So what are these things to avoid? So we should avoid association of worldly minded people. So that was in the 2nd verse saying the 6 things. Of them, one was to avoid the association of worldly minded people. And then in the 3rd verse, again, he said these are the things that are favorable to our Krishna consciousness. Again, he says, give up the association of non-devotees. So this is mentioned twice. And this book is very small, as you saw. It's a very thin book, and it's only 11 verses. And of those 11 verses, already twice within the first 3 verses, it's mentioned that first, that we should avoid association of worldly minded people, and we should give up the association of non-devotees. So the emphasis, when something is mentioned twice or thrice in scripture especially, it's very important, right? So, but how do we avoid bad association? How do we avoid not being with worldly minded people? It's actually not very possible in one sense, because we live in this world, we all work, we go to school, we have jobs, we interact with the world outside as well. But then how do we follow this? Actually, what the idea is not to give up in one sense, but to give our association and not try to be influenced by the people we associate with in the outside world. So that's the main idea of how we can follow this. And so, so this verse is actually about association, but it's about association in a positive way, where it's saying that, how the saying goes, Jesa sang vesarang, we are the company we keep, right? So, and in studies it's shown that we are actually the average. We are average of the 5 people we associate with most. If you think about it, if you really, really think deeply, who are the 5 people who are actually closest to us? And if you can name even one devotee in that 5, even if it's usually a family member, you're very, very fortunate, because it's very rare actually. And it's said that we can think of association as like a bundle of sticks. If I ask, if I ask Raghu Prabhu, if I give him a bundle of sticks and I say, can you break these sticks? He may have a hard time breaking the bundle, but if I give him one stick, he can easily break it. This is how association is also. Association is actually that if we are together, if we are in association of devotees, then it's hard for us to, Maya to cut through us. But even if we're just one, if we're separated from our association, it's very easy for Maya to reach us. And since Ram Navami is coming up, I thought we would share about Lord Ram. So, as long as in the forest, Sita Mata was with Lakshman and Sri Ram. So when she was with them, she was protected. But as soon as she was lured by a deer and she lost their association for some time, Ravan came and captured her. So similarly, if we're allured by things in this material world and we leave the association of devotees, then we're in danger of being captured by Kali Yuga. There's so many Ravanas we can think of in our life. Not Ravana per se a person, but it can even be our phones. It can be so many things. But the idea is, as long as we're together in the association of devotees, then it's hard for Maya to catch us. And even, I can speak for myself, even in my own life, I can correlate the times when bhakti was, bhakti is supposed to be steady upward climb, but there are times actually that it's more like up and down. So in the times, if I analyze when it was down, it was directly related to the times where my association was low, where I didn't have close devotee association. That is when my bhakti kind of fell. So when we think of association, we just learned of why we should associate with devotees, right? So now this is the verse for today. So this verse goes into how. So we learned the why, which is like, we can say like Sambandha Gyan. In one sense, we can say we're learning why we're doing something. We're saying association, but why? We should associate. Now this verse is telling us, Rupa Goswami is telling us how we should associate. How should we associate with devotees? We're already doing these things, but because we're going to this book, we're just going to go in a little bit of detail of how we should associate with devotees. So let's go through this verse. Can you repeat after me? Dadati pratigrenati Guhyamakyati prachati Bhunte bhojete chaiva Shadvidam priti lakshanam. Let's do it one more time. Dadati pratigrenati Guhyamakyati prachati Bhunte bhojate chaiva Shadvidam priti lakshanam. So the translation goes, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So we're going to go through the verse. We're going to, so this is also 6. I don't know, the magic number is 6. We talked about 6 things that we should avoid, 6 things we should take. Now we're talking about 6 loving exchanges amongst devotees. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that this is nothing new. This is something that we all practice. You know, giving gifts, offering gifts, sharing our heart with someone, hearing from someone, and exchange of food. We accept food. So in the mundane world, even when there's a business meeting, this is something simple. It always happens. When we have a business meeting, this naturally happens. We don't even think about it. But when we're invited, we sit, at a restaurant or over dinner, they sit down and they discuss things. And usually they'll bring a present. So this is normal behavior, even in the mundane world. But the difference is the motivation. What is the idea? The idea is personal gain, profit. They're just trying to build relationship for the sake of business. It's not really priti lakshanam. It's not, the center is not Krishna. So the key word here is priti. It's loving and living in a community of devotees. Here we have a community. So it's about the loving exchanges. So what makes it different? How is the relationships with devotees different? Actually, it's different because we are keeping Krishna in the center. Krishna is the center of our lives. So in the relationship, if Krishna is the center, then that relationship it has priti, it has love, because actually Krishna is embodiment of love. So all the love that we're receiving through devotees and from devotees, I'm sure all of us have received in this forum or any forum some sort of priti, some sort of love. That's why we're coming back, right? Why is someone here? We're here because we've received something, we've received some love, right? So I know in any community, there's always difference of opinions. Everyone has different thoughts, different ways. I'm sure if we ask Ramchandra Prabhu, everyone has a different way of doing service, of how something should be done. But the idea is, how can we exchange love and cooperate with each other and get through these differences? And there's an example that was shared in one of the Wednesday Sanghas, where Gopal Hari Prabhu, who was my Bhakti Shastri teacher, and he said that, in a bag there's all these bumpy rocks, but as long as they're in the bag, slowly by bumping into each other, they'll start smoothening, right? So similarly, in this kind of community, even if we're, we may have difference of opinions, we may have differences, but our goal is the same. So even if we bump heads, eventually we're becoming smoother and smoother and it's becoming more pleasing to the Lord. So as long as you stay in the bag of rocks, as long as you stay in this community, we will continue to grow together. So, and yes, and Srila Prabhupada's quote, which is one of the most famous ones, "Your love for me will be shown in the way you cooperate with each other," right? So to please Srila Prabhupada and show him our love, we should learn how to cooperate with each other. And the way to do that, Srila Rupa Goswami is teaching us through these loving exchanges. In fact, ISKCON was built on these principles. If you read the principles of ISKCON, I think we've done a class on this before, but if we read about the principles of ISKCON, these loving exchanges are in there. If we even think about it, Srila Prabhupada, how did he create this movement? How did it all start? He had nothing, he had no one. But these 6 loving exchanges attracted so many. When he came, he would invite, as we go through, he started giving gifts, exchanging. He started giving prasadam, and everyone started taking prasadam. They started revealing their mind and inquiring submissively, and this is how they grew in bhakti. And there's so many stalwart soldiers still out there preaching after Srila Prabhupada for many, almost 50 years, and still going. How is it going? It's because they have this loving exchanges. Otherwise, it's impossible to survive. I can tell you myself that more than 30, I don't want to, but many years. But the only way to survive in Krishna consciousness is through loving exchanges. And even I heard an interview recently of Nitai Sevani Mataji. Amoglila Prabhu was conducting this, and he was asking Mataji, so she built a beautiful community in Vishakhapatnam, and he asked her that if you had to say, what keeps your community and grows the community, if you had to speak one thing, and she said loving exchanges amongst devotees. That was the answer. It wasn't anything else, but it was just a loving exchange. That's what keeps it going. And that's what I've experienced also through the years. So we're going to break up the verse into the 6 loving exchanges. So we start with Dadati Pratigrinati. That means offering and accepting gifts. So when we say offering and accepting gifts, gifts are not the mundane, but we can think of it, we can start that way. So when we exchange gifts, what's actually being exchanged? It's the thought. It's the thought behind the gift. It's not actually the value of the gift, it's the thought behind the gift. Even Krishna feels, if we truly are, even Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Yo Me Bhaktya Prayashyati. Bhaktya, what is he looking for? The thought behind the item, a leaf, water, they're not of any value as such in the mundane world, but what's of value? The heart you give it with, the bhakti you give it with. And another thing that we can give is time. Time, right? Time is another thing that we can give. It's intangible, we can't feel it or see it. But time is something that is of so much value to us. And when we don't have time is when we realize that, every moment you can never get it back. We shouldn't waste our time. But time is so valuable, you can't, even millions of dollars can't bring back a moment. So if we're giving someone our time, we're giving something very valuable. And even service not devotional service, but even if we're doing service. So these are in the mundane category. Actually, Srila Rupa Goswami is not talking about this, but I just thought that it was important to mention that, but the topmost charity, he's talking about our gift of spiritual knowledge and the holy name. So he's saying that in order for us to give, what is the most valuable thing we can give? It's the holy names, because it will not only liberate someone from the cycle of birth and death. It's gonna bring them back to the loving exchanges with Radha and Krishna. So this is the highest gift, and how can we do it? Through the holy name. So this is the highest gift you can give someone. You can give them an item, but that's only for this lifetime. It's temporary. It's going to dwindle. It's going to diminish. But this is eternal. If we give someone, and this place, this center is facilitating that, right? We come here together to learn and to inquire. So, and in the Chatursloki Gita also, it says, one of the verses says, Bodhayantas parasparam. So what is that? That is the loving exchange of us sharing amongst devotees, sharing spiritual knowledge amongst devotees. And that's something that really pleases Krishna. And of those 4 verses, this is one of them, where he's saying that he thinks of the devotees dwell in him that do this. So we should all do this. And we have such a nice platform here to do this, right? Because we have our japa calls, right, in the morning. So we have a sangha to chant, a platform where we can all chant together. Jivana Mataji was so nicely chanting this morning. Yeah, so all of you should join. It's such a beautiful way to chant together. And also we have our Wednesday sanghas where we get to share this gift of knowledge that we have. And we also have our Bhakti Vriksha programs, in which we get to, this is also another platform where we get to facilitate this. Like this is facilitated. And of course we have our Sunday Love Feast here. There's so many ways we have to do this. And even when, it's so blissful, isn't it, when we all come together and do these activities versus when you do them at home. It's nice to study scriptures at home together. It's very nice. It's recommended for us to read. But the joy that we feel in doing it together versus doing it by ourselves, and what we gain from it, we learn from each other, right? When we do it single-handedly, we may not get the same outcome, or maybe we may not understand with clarity what's actually being said. So having these type of forums is such a great fortune for all of us. And the next one is Guhyam Ankyati Pranchati. So this is something that, what does it mean? It means revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. So this is a very important part of the loving exchanges, because when we have some sort of problem, something in our heart, we need to reveal it. But it's important to know who to reveal it to, how to reveal it. And we shouldn't go to, it should be a trusted person who's a little bit more advanced than us. It doesn't have to be the most, they don't have time, right? A lot of our Guru Maharajas don't have this kind of time, or we may not be able to get in touch with them directly, easily. If there's someone who's a little more advanced than us, they can give us advice. We should go to someone, we should feel that they're trusted, they're a little more advanced than us, but we should reveal our hearts to someone because they can give us guidance. Because without guidance, we cannot progress, because we can't, it's hard to see our own flaws. Even when we look, it's hard to see what we're doing wrong, usually. It's easier when we ask someone, especially if we're lost or we're unsure of something, it's important to clear up any doubts we have. So that's why we should inquire confidentially. So, and also, when we ask, we should be it's not about, I've seen this often, we ask questions, and we ask the same question to 10 people until we hear the answer we want to hear, right? That's not the idea. We have to follow. It's not just hearing, okay, I heard the answer, but actually getting that advice and imbibing it and following through in action and actually taking it forward. And now that's us inquiring, right? Now, a person who's getting the questions, it's very, very important for them to keep it confidential. That's very, very, very important. Because if that person is trusting you with their heart and you're saying, Aapne suna? Isne ye bola? Oh, this is happening. And we feel, especially if we're someone close to us, we say, oh, it's just my best friend. But you know what happens? That best friend has another best friend. That friend has another best friend. Before you know it, it's gossip, and everyone knows about it. And that person who trusted you has lost trust, right? So it's actually very, very important for us to reveal confidentially and avoid that gossip, actually. So sorry, next slide. So spiritual friendships are based on trust, and gossip is something that can kill, any community, any relationship. So we should be very, very careful. I know this is more amongst Matajis, this happens where we like to talk. It's normal. But Krishna gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should always do a speech filter. This is in the Bhagavad Gita, 17:15. I actually clearly remember this verse by Shilpi Mataji. She gave this class in the Vaishnavi Sangha. So, because it pertains to all, but definitely Mataji's. So we did this. So the 3 filter test. Whenever you speak, we should think to ourselves, are we speaking truthfully? Is what I'm saying beneficial? And is it pleasing? It shouldn't agitate anyone when we speak. So these are things that, we speak so much, we're ranting on and speaking on and on, but do we really think about what we're saying? So this is a filter test from Bhagavad Gita that we can use when we speak. And also when I talked about trusted people, we don't need a whole community. We don't need to go tell our neighbors. We don't need to tell. We should find devotees, seek devotees that will give us the right path, the right advice, in the right consciousness, and say something that will actually benefit us ultimately. It may not be digestible to us initially. We may think it's impossible, but if we push ourselves to do it, then we can go far, because usually with instruction, especially from a spiritual master or a senior leader, comes empowerment. And I've felt this myself many times. Like when someone gives us some advice, we may feel this is impossible, I can't do it, this is not something I can do. But actually, if we go through and follow and do something out of our comfort zone to please that, to do it as an instruction, the empowerment comes. Somehow or other, we're given the empowerment to do it. And the next and most favorite topic of everyone is accepting and offering prasadam. This is also a loving exchange, and it's one of the favorites of most of us. And and actually, prasadam is the mercy. So it's not just food, it's actually Krishna's mercy coming, and we're accepting it. And we also offer it to others. When it's cooked in the right consciousness, when he's accepted with love, not in the mood of, oh, what did they cook? Oh, like this, oh, I made this person. No, in the mood of, this is Krishna's mercy coming to me. So in that mood, if we accept it, it's actually inviting, like when we invite devotees to our home, it's actually recommended in the purport. Srila Rupa Goswami talks about we should invite devotees to our home and offer them prasadam. And when we get invitations, we should actually accept them, because this is the loving exchanges. This is how we will grow deeper in our loving exchanges amongst devotees. And Srila Prabhupada this is called the kitchen religion. Why? Because we do so much feasting, right? Even on Ekadashi, we have feasts, right? So we're here for the Sunday Love Feast, and we also have the Food for Life program, the midday meals. Actually, during COVID, in India especially, there was so much distribution of prasadam. They were handing out Krishna's mercy left and right, and they even won awards, I believe, for this, especially in the Delhi area. And how many of you joined Krishna consciousness because of prasadam? Just be honest. Yes. Many devotees. It's actually actually our weapon. The way to get to everyone's heart is through the stomach. So as we're talking about prashadam, I'm sure all of you are getting hungry, but this is, so yeah. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the people for all these years that have been cooking non-stop in the center, coming and offering. These loving exchanges are happening daily, weekly, and weekly here it's facilitated. So I think we should all chant one Maha Mantra for all the cooks, for all the years that we've accepted prashadam and given prashadam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I wanted to take this time, not just the cooks actually. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar ki jai, Shishi Nimai Nitai ki jai, Shishi Prabhupada ki jai. So I wanted to take this opportunity. We're so fortunate here. We've been practicing these 6 loving exchanges for over 6 years now. 6 years? Yes? More than 6 years? How many of you have been coming for more than this since the beginning of the inception of the center? Haribol, Haribol. Very nice. 5 years? 4 years? 3 years? 3 years. Haribol. 2 years? 1 year? Haribol. Thank you, all of you. Very nice. So, this is giving us such a nice platform and facility to practice what Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. He's given us what should we do? He said that first. He said that we should give knowledge and inquire submissively. We have these classes, this forum to do that, right? And then we get to inquire, and then we get to exchange prashadam. We get to many of you have a chance to cook, and everyone gets to accept prashadam, right? So this makes it so easy. So everyone has been working so tirelessly over these years to make this happen, and this is not even it's not a brick and mortar type temple, but it's a center, Srila Prabhupada Center. And he's built this formula, like wherever you go with these 6 loving exchanges, somehow a community has developed. And we want to thank especially Ramchandra Prabhu and all the management here who put in so much hard work to make this happen. So thank you very much. And everyone who's I know everyone takes some piece of this. It's not a one-man job, for sure. Every one of you have put in something, even coming here, because if you're not here, then where's the program? Where are the loving exchanges? We can make prashadam, but if there's no one to give it to, then, it's each and every one of you makes such a difference. So Srila Prabhupada has made such a beautiful community. And week after week, we're able to do this. So I just feel very, very grateful that we're able to do these 6 loving exchanges, because how many of you would stay in Krishna consciousness for so long if it wasn't for a facility like this, a center like this? Would it be hard? Yes, I hear a lot of yeses. It would be hard, because association is very, very important and critical. And Srila Prabhupada says, herein lies the very basis of our Krishna consciousness movement. Exchanges of love or priti amongst its members. Without this exchange, our reciprocation, there is no real Krishna conscious movement. So my dear devotees, what can I say? As long as you follow the path of Srila Rupa Goswami in the form of these 6 loving exchanges, we will be protected from all the dangers of the outside world. And if you want to stay afloat in bhakti, then we must stay in Srila Prabhupada's ship, as the center is one of them. It facilitates us to attain our real goal, Krishna Prema. So I thank you very much for listening today, and I hope I said something of value and something you can practically take home.
Anyone has any questions? I think we still have a few minutes. Do you have a question, Anaya?
She had a point to say.
Hare Krishna. First of all, I want to thank you, Radhika Mataji. It is such a pleasure hearing you. I have heard you many times, but hearing you here, I'm so happy. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that Anaka was saying when you were talking about the Tati Janati, she was saying that she has to share her toys with the baby. So thank you. So she's also listening at her level of consciousness. I think you shared very beautiful points in all these 6 exchanges, and I see you as an embodiment of doing all of these 6 exchanges, because I have so many times I have taken advice from you. When they kriya makshati prachati, so I have confidentially taken advice from you on various things. So thank you for that. And as you mentioned towards the end, that many join for the prasad but stay for the philosophy. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to have food for both the body and soul. So food for the body is the prasadam, and food for the soul is the philosophy that we share, which is, because Srila Prabhupada gave us this higher taste of Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate food for the soul. So I think we get everything here. So thank you very much.
Yes, I think we've all received a lot here, so thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for lovely pravachan. I don't come here that often, but I do read Bhagavad Gita and practice puja and kirtan at home. And in Bhagavad Gita, it is advised that we should be trying more and more satsanga. But at the same time, it is also recommended that ekantavasa is also important. So, when to practice satsanga and when to practice ekantavasa? So,
I'll try to explain as best as I know, but there's seniors who can answer better. So, from my understanding, Mataji, we can do all these things alone. We are, we should, of course, chanting, we can do it alone, and we should. Reading, we should do it alone. This is part of our sadhana. So sadhana is mostly done alone. But, this is from experience, but also we all know that how much easier is it to read and chant together versus alone. In the mornings, I can say for myself, Mataji, I try to wake up early, but when I know that I'm going to be on a call and I'm going to chant with a group of devotees, it gives me an extra incentive to do it. And that, it makes it much harder for Maya to join, because now there's a group of us chanting. That's why I said that this example of the bundle of sticks is just an example, but it's not saying that you should not. You should study the scriptures alone. You should, but then you should go ahead and answer, or in a group, how there's book clubs or there's things like this where you actually discuss what you've read, because our minds and our understanding is very little compared to what the vast scriptures and the depth of the scriptures. I know I've read the Bhagavatam, and there's many parts that I'm still confused about. And when I took Bhakti Shastri, now I'm studying it with a group of other, when you study with a group of other devotees, the meaning reveals itself. Actually, we don't need to really study. Guru and Krishna actually embarked. It says, Divya Gyan Hirday Prakashito, right? So it manifests in our heart, but it comes through mercy. So if we're in association, if we're submissive to someone, that mercy will flow through. So both are needed. So to summarize, both are needed, but one can't be without the other. You know, if you're just doing kirtan here and you're not doing japa at home, it won't work. But if we're only doing japa at home and not in the association of devotees like this, then also it won't work. Does that make sense? Is there?
Yes, thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you, Radhika, for a nice class. I love how you both were. Thank you. Yeah, I think devotee association is all of us who've been practicing.